Good evening. I am ED-SKaR, and today I am looking at the Warlord community. There is a link in the description to the page that I'm looking at today. Now, I usually don't kind of focus on wargaming news that much, but today, just for today, there's Conflict 47 news, and that breaks my rule because Conflict is cool and the game I'm playing quite a lot at the moment, so I'm going to discuss it. There have been a bunch of new models announced, and there has also been, as we can see here, a roadmap. Hey, Tiki the Hut, how are you doing? Yeah, Japan, we're all the way right at the end. We'll get there. So we have, not only is there some models that are being released immediately, or kind of in the immediate future, they're kind of there over the next month or two, which is marked here as Q1. We also have the rest of the year's releases, and some of it is placeholder, some of it is to be confirmed, some of it is clearer than others, and we shall go through that in a moment. I think I'll find something to talk about for a few minutes while people arrive. Tiki, how are you doing? Have you had any Conflict 47 games with the Japanese yet? I've had a few. I'm starting to learn how to play them because, yeah, when I first started with the Japanese, they definitely do not play how I thought they would. So a lot of the stuff coming out at the moment is for Festung Europa. Which, if I just quickly go over to another tab and just confirm what Festung means. Fortress, yes, I was right. So Festung Europa is Fortress Europe. And we will have a whole bunch of lore stuff related to this. There we go. Ambush is king. Oh, it absolutely is. Oh, it absolutely is. Definitely. I think one thing that is one thing that the Japanese could use more of, but we have very limited access to, is guts. In a couple of my games recently, I've advanced with a truck, jumped out, used the points of guts on a unit, and then immediately run them again. Because a point of guts, you can put an order die back in the bag. I had a look at a bit of a cheese list to see how many officers I could have and how many points of guts I could get, and it's just not great. Calvin Twist, evening Ed, got you on at TMK. Hello everyone. Can't hear you, but look for can't hear me. Oh, there's no audio. How can everyone else hear me okay? In terms of audio balance, both the music and my microphone. I'm wondering if it's just their setup. Hopefully all is well. I like to keep Type 97 Chihas on ambush with some Shibitos on ambush to cover them. Yeah, oh, the Shibitos being able to charge 12 inches from an ambush is really nice. Bad Rabbit, audio is good, thank you very much. Need to get better at using outflanking. Yes, so I have been looking into outflanking because it's something I've never really done in bolt action. 4x5 sound okay, music a bit loud. I can touch the music down a little. How's that? Some of the tracks on this are louder than others, so it might just be a louder track. Yeah, so the Conflict Japanese have the bonuses for outflanking, and I think there are some really good uses there. I've never really done outflanking, especially in bolt action. I've been playing bolt action for 3 years, and I've outflanked on one game, and it was a disaster. So looking into how to do that properly, especially with the Japanese, especially with the things like because they're rift units, things like the Scorpion, something like the Ghost. It's almost a bit of a waste to outflank them because they're going to jump around as much as they want. Caliban says that it's just loud in the shop. That's fine. Okay. I say hello to everyone in the shop. Banzai. There's some Banzai going on. That's good fun. So it's me, Rev. Hi, how you doing? Showed the walker's butt to the side of the board and got taken out by outflanking ghosts. Firstly, ghosts are awesome and they're going to get you in the rear armor no matter what. But double check the rules for facing, because walkers and the armor facings is slightly different from other vehicles. That might help you. To be honest, there's so many little tiny differences between bolt action and conflict. I kind of went into it thinking, oh, it's just bolt action. I'll learn a couple of differences and I'll be fine. And I've kind of struggled because of that, because there's a lot of differences. There's not just one or two small differences. There are a lot of small differences. I actually kind of want to go through with both rule books side by side and read every single rule through the whole book, through the whole of both books, and actually compare them. But that will take a monumental amount of time. I would love to be able to do that. I don't think I'll be able to, because that comparison between all of the rules that are slightly different between the two games, that would help a lot of people, and it would certainly help me, because I played so much bolt action second and third, and I'm now primarily playing conflict. I've got so many different rule sets in my head. I mean, just as a side note, I have been playing wargaming. I've been playing war games for 30 years. I have played over 100 game systems. I have written more than 10 game systems. I have a lot of rules bouncing in my head. Keeping it straight as to what game I'm playing is difficult sometimes. Right, chat's kicking off. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. Let's get stuck in and let's talk about the plastic release roadmap from Warlord Games. There should be a link in the description if anyone wants to open this up for themselves to have a look. But I have here... that's inconvenient. What I might just do is I'm going to quickly download this. And I'm going to run this up as an image rather than viewing the web page. This will just take 3 or 4 hours. Don't worry, I'll do it. I'll get there. There we go. So if I put that there and then hide that temporarily, right, sorted. So, quarter one. ED-SKaR, Tiki the Hut says, ED-SKaR, is this going to be a recurring K47 stream? I will be streaming a lot more often. I'll talk about that later. It probably won't be news stuff like today, but it will be conflict related. It will be other things related as well. Probably painting more than anything else. But I do intend to stream more often. So, the plastic release roadmap. Given that Warlord Games has been talking about Conflict 47 since the middle of last year, since before the middle of last year, and as one of the constant reoccurring things that they've been mentioning is that there will be plastic kits, there will be plastic infantry, there will be plastic vehicles, there will be plastic walking mechs as well. There's just lots of plastic coming. They're really going on about being plastic. It's kind of annoying because a lot of gamers, a lot of the community don't like metal and resin and only like plastic, as if metal and resin is bad somehow. I quite like all materials for different things, but generally speaking, plastic is the most popular, and so that's kind of one of the things that that's one of the main things that they're focusing on whenever they're talking about this. And we've been wondering just how much plastic is coming. And more importantly, when are we going to get our grubby mitts on it? Because we want to actually build the... It's great if the plastic exists. It's no good if we can't get hold of it. So, the fact that they have now released, and this is, from what I understand, this was released today, given that everyone's suddenly talking about it, I expect it's just come out in the last couple of hours. This roadmap is talking about when this plastic stuff is coming out. That is really interesting, and it's cool that we can talk about it today. So it's split into the 4 quarters of the year because, you know, businesses do that kind of thing. And the quarter 1 stuff, I might just skip over this quite quickly because all of the stuff in quarter 1 has actually been put up for pre-order already on Warlord Games' website. So we've got Festung Europa, which is a campaign book. We've got the Totennotre, which I'm probably mispronouncing, Starter Army, as well as Totenkor Horde. Now the Totenkor plastics. Those look good, and we'll get to that. We'll come back to that. We'll talk about that in a moment. We've also got the Nachtjäger. Again, pronunciation, I don't know what the specifics are there. We will come back to these models because they are all quarter 1. They're on pre-order right now. Let's go straight into quarter 2. So this is the stuff that's a few months out. Talking April at the absolute minimum, more likely towards the middle of the year. For the Soviet Union, we have Ursus with moles and Ursus with claws. And for anyone who's been keeping up to date with the starter armies for conflict and the release stuff that was going on in November and December last year, this is big news. This is important stuff. So when the when Warlord Games were releasing Conflict 47, they intended to release the Axis and the US, and then a few months later they'd release each of the other armies, the British Commonwealth, the Soviet bloc, and the Empire of Japan. However, with the massive amount of success that the release got, they stepped up the starter sets as much as they could to release them as early as they could, because they realized there's more kind of community support for this game than they had originally realized. The British and the Japanese box came out pretty quickly. I've already done videos on that. In fact, I have some in front of... No, I don't. I don't have any... I do have some. I have my Chiha in front of me on my painting table, just about ready to go. But the Soviet box was pushed back, and then it was pushed back again, and then it was finally cancelled. And the reason why the Soviet box had these problems, whereas the other ones didn't, is because of the Ursus, the big giant bears. These models were originally designed to be in plastic, and converting them to a faster manufacturing technique, which would either be cast resin or the Seocast, to get them in these starter sets out to customers as soon as possible, just didn't work. Warlord Games said that the quality just wasn't good enough, and they weren't happy putting that out. I respect that as a professional decision. They've put in the effort to try and make this, to get these out to customers as fast as possible, but they're just not willing to put out bad quality stuff. I like that. Obviously, we'd rather have them in hand. We'd rather have the models sooner rather than later. But the fact that they've stepped back and they've said, no, we're not putting out rubbish. We're gonna get these done properly and get them out to you when they're ready. And it looks like both the mole and the claw version of those bears will be out in quarter 2. Bad Rabbit says, really hope Ursus come with both claws and moles in the same kit. Being split would be lame. That's a good question. Let's see. I'm actually gonna sidetrack and answer that, or not answer that, but let's discuss that, because that is a very good point. Soviet bloc. Soviet bloc starter army. Let's bring up that. No, that. I am not a professional streamer, therefore I don't have to do things properly. So this is the currently back on pre-order. No, it's out. Okay, this is the currently discontinued version of the Soviet Bloc Starter Army. And we have the bears with mauls and the bears with clubs. And if you look at the legs poses of them, they are quite different. And what I think is that if they're going to be monopose models, they're not going to be... It's just, this is this model, this is this model. They're not compatible with each other. But if they're coming in plastic kits, there is a chance that they will be more modular and you will be able to swap the arms back and forth. And it depends. It really depends, because things like the Fireflies and the Stahltruppen have come on plastic sprues, and they're endlessly modular. You can put nearly any set of arms on nearly any torso and so on. But then things like the battle frame infantry for the Japanese, the Galahads for the British, and some others as well, they are monopose. Each individual sculpt is what it is, and you can't really... There's no really real easy way of having a different one without converting. Now, I do conversions all the time, so it's kind of expected for me. But these bears just look like they're going to be monopose. The variance in the poses, I would guess that these are going to be monopose models. And what that probably means is that each one of these is going to be its own thing, and you're going to get a set with the mauls and separately a set with the claws. I hope that they come modular, and that's because I hope everything always comes modular, because modular infantry kits, even modular monster infantry kits, it's always better than monopose. Yes, a monopose sculpted model can look a little bit cooler, but it's so limiting and so restrictive into what you can do. What have we got? Let's pop back to that for a moment, and we'll discuss this further. But I'll catch up with chat, because there's a whole bunch of talking going on. Talking about using anti-tank guns and Chihars in ambush. Good stuff. Matthew Phillips says, what model do you use for the Rift-Tech Sniper? Ooh, that would be interesting. What do you use for the Rift-Tech Sniper? Regular sniper with some shiny bits on it. I have a different answer, and I have it in front of me because I'm currently in the process of painting them. Although I can't see my sniper. Where are you? There you are. My sniper is doing an excellent job of camouflage, even though he's bright blue. Let's do some camera trickery. Let's not do that camera trickery. Let's do this camera trickery. Make that bigger. And focus. So this is my Shiboru sniper for my Empire of Japan. And I have a whole squad of these that can be Shiboru rifle squad. Or in the last game I actually ran them as the battle frame infantry with Shiboru. So these are Warlord Games Ashigaru, so peasants from the Bushido era, and they fit so nicely with the samurai aesthetic of a lot of the other Japanese stuff. I am not the only person to use the Ashigaru. I know of at least 4 other people that are using Ashigaru in some way, shape or form, either for the Shiboru Rifle Squad or for the Sniper, or both. Boom, right. Didn't realise the Chihar was only... Ismi Rev says, didn't realise the Chihar was only 155 points. Yes, yes it is, 150... Is that the Shinhoto? I think that's the Shinhoto is 155, because the Howitzer version is 135. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, because that might not be accurate. But in Conflict 47, a Howitzer version of the Chihar, you've got a couple of machine guns, you've got armor 8, and you've got a 2-inch blast from that howitzer. That's a nice little thing for blowing up armored infantry, shred troopen, the Soviet armor. Basically, anyone's armor 6 becomes 4+, and you have a 2-inch blast to get a whole bunch of them. Going back to chat for a moment, Alfarius says ED-SKaR, it's because it's really thrown me off and a fair few other people too. I think that's referring to the monopose, and I kind of agree. If they make monopose models, I will have a few of them and I will enjoy painting them. But if they were multi-part, if they were modular, I'm probably going to end up with more of them, because modular just means you can have more of them, and monopose just is a bit too restrictive. Yulia Dubrovnik says, I apologize for the pronunciation of your name there. Connected at the perfect time for the main subject that concerns me, the Ursus Bears. Well, I only have the information that's public and the rumours that have been going around. I don't have anything extra than that. But in Q2, sometime April or beyond, we will have plastic Ursus, and that's going to be good. Bit of conversation with some other people. Bad Rabbit says, even though they're monopose, it'd be nice to have a box of 6, 3 of each. Oh yeah, that would actually be interesting. But I would prefer them to be sold either modular or sold separately, because if they're monopose, I wouldn't want 3 of one and 3 of the other. I would want 6 of one, or just 3 of one and buy the box twice. It depends on how they do it. Tiki the Hut is talking about the Warlord Games Samurai box. That's a very good box. In fact, when I made my Ashigaru, I've got 2 sprues of Ashigaru and 1 sprue of those Samurai mixed in, just for extra bits. And yeah, loads of cool stuff. Matthew Phillips says, thank you, you're welcome. Tiki the Hut, Samurai helmets for the NCOs. I did the same. My NCO is Samurai, has the Samurai's helmet on my squad there. Right. I apologise, chat. I'm going to have to go back to our topic today. I will come back to you in a moment. Q2. So we've talked about the Ursus, the 2 different types coming in plastic kits. That's awesome. Next up, which will make a lot of people very excited, the automated infantry for the British, both Mark 1 and Mark 2, in plastic. Yes. This is... The original metal models of the automated infantry, those automatons, are not terrible. They're not great, but they're not terrible. People have a lot of trouble with them because people aren't used to building metal models, and I am, and I have no problems with this type of model. Moving from the metal to the CO cast, remember that the automata were designed to... The new automata models were designed to be in plastic, but Warlord have ramped up that production speed, and they've made them in CO cast because that's quicker. And so going from the original metals to the new sculpts in CO cast is an improvement. People do still have trouble with the CO cast and gluing it together because the contact surfaces are quite small. But again, they're not that bad. But moving into plastic, all of these problems are going to be going away for the most part, because polystyrene cement on a plastic model, you stick it in and you can wiggle it around. When that dries, that's going to be a perfectly strong bond, but before it dries, you have just enough time to smooth it around and get it into the right position, and then let go, and it'll stay there. And so people are going to have a lot less of much less of an issue gluing these together and having them in the poses they want. So automated infantry, both versions in plastic, we like that. And the next one, this is still in Q2, is a Commonwealth hero. So far, from what I understand, we don't have any British or Japanese heroes. The only Soviet hero is from 1st edition. And we've got loads and loads and loads of them for the Axis and the Americans, including, when we look at the Q1 stuff, the Festung Europa will actually come with a new sculpt for one of those. So the Americans are getting new sculpts for their heroes before anyone else has even got heroes. What we don't have here in quarter 2 is what this Commonwealth hero is. Who they are, no idea. We'll just have to wait and see. But the fact that the British are getting a hero is definitely a good thing. Let's catch up on chat for a second. Alfarius, I apologise. I have missed a whole bunch of stuff. I think I've just discussed what you were talking about. The Axis getting a resin hero, the Americans getting a new sculpt of the hero they already have, and already they've got other heroes as well. Some stuff is going to be coming in plastic. So it seems like... So this is a plastic release roadmap. That's what it says at the top of the page here. And so does that mean that the heroes are coming in plastic? Because I would have thought that the heroes are going to be CO cast because they're a single model in the kit. It's much more practical to do that as a CO cast kit. But they're on the plastic roadmap. So does that mean that Warlord Games are now doing plastic hero models? That would be quite cool. But yes, American Axis have loads, and I'm really looking forward to getting some for the Japanese. I wonder if there are some on this page for the Japanese. We shall see. Alfarius, I hope that was the question you were talking about. I apologise. I've missed a couple of things. It's me, Rev, finished up in Inargo. I'm in two minds about the Inargo, because on one hand, it's massively over points and it kind of looks rubbish. But on the other hand, I want to get one and give it a massive, great big katana, because that would just be cool. Because it's got the samurai armor. It would just look great as this massive samurai, and it fits the aesthetic of everything else. Tiki the Hut talking about Japanese heroes. A commander variant for the Scorpion. That's an interesting one. As far as I'm aware, the only kind of human modification to a vehicle is the command vehicle upgrade. And that's across bolt action and conflict. So if we saw a vehicle with a hero upgrade, like a tank commander... Oh, I guess the Axis do get the tank, the Panzer Ace. So there is that. So having a Conflict 47 equivalent of that for certain vehicles, that would be cool. Where was I? Bad Rabbit said, hadn't considered that. Your take makes sense. Just shy after the boxes, $66 for 3, and those were the metal ones, the older ones there. Yes, big models like that coming in metal are gonna always be expensive, especially when if you're talking in dollars, there's going to be a or that might be pesos. You're talking about shipping to another country, that gets expensive. Plastic is going to be cheaper to manufacture, it's going to be cheaper to transport. Interestingly, one of the most expensive parts of miniatures in terms of buying them is transporting them around the world. The actual production cost of just making one isn't that much, but especially in plastic. Setting stuff up, doing the art design, like all of this stuff does take work, but the transport cost is actually one of the highest costs for especially plastic models. New one's coming. Tiki the Hut says, Empire of Japan doesn't need a hero. They are all heroes. Well, especially the one called Hiro. There you go. He's called Hiro. My sniper, interestingly, is called Itchy because he always rolls ones. On paper, the Shiboru sniper is fantastic. In game, I can roll ones all day with that guy. Farius doesn't understand it at all, especially as the Axis sell the best. Yeah. When it comes to the heroes, there is a massive imbalance at the moment. I'm hoping that we get some balance in terms of both a couple for every nation, but also them not being overpriced, because buying a single model it does get expensive sometime. Okay, let's look at quarter three. We are far too far into this stream to have not even finished the roadmap yet. Quarter three is going to have a second book. And again, this is... We were talking about these books being novels, but it actually seems like these are not going to be novels. They're going to be more like the old bolt-action theatre books. So you have a little bit of lore, you have a few short stories, and then you have some missions that you can play in-game. And that's cool, but I was really looking forward to a novel. I was really looking forward to a Roberta Wells novel, a Japanese hero novel, Soviet hero novel, so on and so forth. Tiki the Hut says I should do a 24-hour stream. Look, just because I can talk for 24 hours doesn't mean people will listen for 24 hours. So the second book coming in quarter three is Invasion America. And America is spelled with a K, so it's probably Axis. And how the Axis have turned around from Dresden to Festung Europa to then invading America. That's an interesting little bit of lore as to however that happens. The next one in quarter three is very interesting, and Tiki can banzai in the chat as much as he likes to this one. The Empire of Japan Ghost Warriors coming as a plastic kit. That's cool. So we've had them in the starter set. We've had them released separately as the ED-SKaR models, and those were the ones that were modified from plastic to ED-SKaR to get them out to customers as fast as possible last year. And then in quarter three of this year, we will see those in plastic, and that is pretty cool. I've been discussing with Ratman today, who I think is in chat somewhere, running a fully Ghost Warrior list for the Japanese, with a assault platoon and a mech platoon. You can end up with 6 squads if you really wanted to. That's a lot of rift dice in an army like that. It's a lot of mobility. That is a lot of mobility. I think you can outmaneuver any other army, even a Firefly army. You can outmaneuver anything. So, Ghost Warrior list would be quite interesting. I personally don't think I want that many, but I do want to bump up to a full squad. I've got 6 at the moment. 5 plus we got the special one in the advent calendar, the one that's phasing through a wall. Really cool model, love that. And so I'd love to bump that up to 10, which means I only need 4 more, which would probably be 1 sprue. I'll see. It depends on how many are coming in the box. We'll see if we can split them up. I'm sure that Ratman will take half of that box. The next one on the list is for the United States, and it is just a Walker. Now, Walker coming in plastic, given that their main Walker already, the linebacker, has already come in plastic, this must be something else. Now, if we have a look ahead at quarter 4, look at that second last line. Empire of Japan says Walker new. Coming back to quarter 3, United States Walker, but it doesn't say new. And if we look at the next line for quarter 3, British Commonwealth Walker, again, doesn't say new. What that means to me, and I might be reading too much into this, what I suspect that means is that this Walker, or these 2 Walkers, are going to be plastic kits for certain, and they're going to be a design that already exists. My suspicion is that means that we're going to see the Jackal, the Guardian, and if someone in chat can remind me what the other variant is, there's 3 variants, because both the United States and the British use different variants of it, and there's also a jump pack version of it as well. So there's 3 different variants of essentially the same Walker, and if that comes as a plastic kit where you can build all 3, that would fit both the Americans and the British, and it would be lovely and modular. And please give me lots of lovely bits in there, Warlord, so that we can have that as a modular kit. That is pretty cool. It's Me Rev says 5, only 1 in the Walker platoon. Is it only 1 you can have in the Walker platoon? I thought it was you get 1 infantry. Oh no, you're right. Yeah, it is only 1 infantry. Okay, I stand corrected. My fully Ghost Warrior list would be 5 squads of ghosts, not 4. Thanks, Rev, for pointing that out. Yulia says, could we all collectively speculate on what conflict infantry would look like for the Americans and Soviets? I've been using the bolt action kit so far, so I'm curious what the sci-fi spin would be. Well, in first edition, the Soviets had the Daughters of the Motherland, which are a genetically enhanced super soldier, and they're cool. And if there's a plastic kit coming for the Daughters of the Motherland, I will be exceptionally happy, and I will be buying a full box for myself. Those are cool. Not only that, I've already got a Shibito, Daughter of the Motherland, on the way to add to my ever-growing collection of Shibito. I'll show those off in a video at some point soon. If you were to take for Project Z, also by Warlord Games, they made a sprue of modern weapons, and on that sprue there's a whole bunch of AKs. So if you grab that sprue, you can take the AKs and give them to the Soviet World War II infantry. I know at least one person has made some Stalker-ish models. So hoods and gas masks and dirty raincoats, and again, loads of AKs. Seems to be the disposable rocket launcher for the Soviets is a variant of the RPG-7. It's what was the Ice Troopers? What was the Soviet Ice Troopers called? Mraz Ghul. The Mraz Ghul had what looked like an RPG-7. So if you just get RPG-7s to use as the disposable launcher, so there you go. Plenty of options there. Right, back to the quarter 3. So we've talked about the Walker. I suspect, I have no evidence to support this other than what's on screen. I think this might be Jackal and Guardian, maybe as a single kit that you can build as different variants. That would be nice. Or it might be other things. For the Soviet bloc, we have an infantry choice, and we have the Molot. The Molot and the Ursus in quarter 2 were all in the starter set. And the other thing in the starter set is the Mraz Ghul infantry. So it might be the case that this infantry unit here is the plastic version of the Mraz Ghul. I think that's the most likely answer. I hope that they're Daughters of the Motherland, because that's way cooler. But I've no idea. It's more likely that these are the Mraz Ghul. And having a plastic kit for the Mraz Ghul, that would be great. Going down further in quarter 3, we've got yet another United States hero. Another one. You've got enough. You've got enough. Everyone gets one, and everyone gets a plate until... No one gets a second plate until everyone's had the first, right, America? Put your heroes down, let everyone else have one. So, the United States get an infantry unit and a hero. Interestingly, we've already got the Firefly infantry as a plastic kit, and there hasn't been any other American infantry specifically mentioned that are kind of that would be in line for this. So the one that I think is most likely, there's kind of two that I'm thinking of, and the one that I think is more likely is the Paragons, the American Paragons, super soldiers with a wild variety of weapons and a wild variety of unit kind of skills. I think that's probably the more likely one. The other option is the armored infantry, which are armor 6, and they've got a light machine gun each, very similar to the British Galahads in terms of the rules, at least. That would be my other guess, but I've no evidence and nothing to support that other than kind of those are the most likely, those are the obvious infantry choices that we don't have. The other option is there's a completely new infantry choice that we haven't seen before coming. And as the army lists for Conflict 47 are PDFs, they can just add another unit in willy-nilly. So it might be that. Bad Rabbit says, when they list infantry, it possibly could be rifle squads. Oh, that's an interesting one. Bad Rabbit, that is genuinely an interesting observation. So what these might be, when it says Soviet bloc infantry, United States infantry, okay, it's just those two. We might actually see regular normal infantry in a Conflict 47 style. That's cool. I hadn't thought of that. Tiki the Hut says Rift Tech Marines. Wrong game. It's 47, not 40. And the K's in a different place. It's Me Rev says Paragons would make a cooler kit, I think. I think you're right. If the Americans are getting a plastic infantry kit, it should be the Paragons, because they are the cooler... the modern style that Warlord games are doing for a lot of the Conflict 47 stuff, the Paragons would be perfect fit for that. They would look pretty cool. Bad Rabbit says the core rulebook does have an example of a Tesla arc rule. One powered armor with heavy Tesla rifles. Ooh, yes. That's another thing about plastic kits for all of these units. And I'm going to rant about the Japanese in a moment. Don't worry. Hold that thought. Having plastic kits for all of this stuff means you get a lot more options. With metal models, generally speaking, you just get the parts to build the models with no options and no spare parts or anything like that. Every now and again, you might get a weapon option for some model, or like an add-on that you don't necessarily have to glue on. It's not that common though. With a plastic kit, you always get half a dozen heads extra, a bunch of arms, almost to the point where some kits have twice as many arms or more than twice as many arms as they have bodies to put them on. And so yeah, things like the American armored infantry, with you get a light machine gun each of them, but then you get a couple of the heavy Tesla rifles. Maybe there's an option for your NCO to have something different as well. There's some cool stuff coming. Tiki the Hut says US Marines, nerd. Look, if you say Marines to an international audience, we don't automatically think of the US Marines, yeah? America's not the default. Rift Tech equipped US Marine Corps squad. That would be cool, actually. Yeah, that's going back to kind of normal infantry, but in a Conflict 47 style. If you had, US Marine Corps with some Tesla shotguns, that would be cool. Bad Rabbit says, wish for the US to have a damage value 7 Mark II power armor, but it's just Paragons in actual... Yeah, actually, that would be a nice conversion thing. If they release plastic Paragons and the plastic body armor, power armor, you just kit bash the two together and get a damage value 7 unit. Do the Americans have any damage value 7 infantry? Because I know that the Soviets, the Axis, and the British do. The Japanese definitely don't. But do the Americans? Because is it just the Japanese that are missing out, or are the Americans missing out as well? Loadouts for the battle and assault frame suits are killing me. Yes, that's It's Me Rev says that. I definitely agree with you on that, Rev. I really want a plastic kit of exosuits that you can build as either assault frame or battle frame. Because I'd buy a whole box. I'd use a whole box of them. My Ashigaru that I have here, I designed these to be the normal infantry with Shibori rifle, but in the last event I ran them as the battle frame with Shibori rifle, and they're great. They are absolutely great. Bad Rabbit says no, the US do not have damage value 7. Okay, so Japanese and Americans are in the same boat there without the damage value 7 infantry. Yeah, so plastic kit of the exosuits that you can build either way. with, what would it be? Submachine gun, Shibori rifle, and then like a fist or various thing on one side for the battle frame, and then the sword blade thing for the assault frame, and then a few other options. There'll be a couple light machine gun, couple of the missile launcher, and anti-tank grenades. I'm missing something in that. Oh yeah, there's the light anti-tank launchers, but there's also the Panzerschreck variant as well. So you could have both of those. There's loads of things you put in there. And Sashimono. Sashimono for everyone. Give me my Sashimono. I've already broken 3 of the 6 Sashimono that came in the starter set. Side notes, I will be making a video on how to repair Sashimono, because they are fragile as anything. Ticket says, say US Navy Seabees construction battalions with Tesla Thompson's explosive packs and the ability to construct Tesla sea-wire barricades. Yeah, I'll support that. I'll support that. Right, let's look at quarter 4, because we have another book, but this time title to be confirmed. This is almost certainly going to be another campaign book, just like the first 2, but this, yeah, don't know what it is. I would love to see, because Festung Europa is seemingly mostly America versus the Axis, and Invasion America sounds Axis versus Americans. Can we have a campaign book that doesn't include the Americans in the Axis, please? I would like to see in this 3rd volume the Manchuria campaign. So in historically, Manchuria campaign was a couple of months right at the end of World War II, where the Soviet Union turned and invaded through China towards Japan, taking back a lot of land and putting Japan massively on the back foot. Japan is now losing in every direction, and they finally surrendered. It's almost unheard of. It's something that I certainly weren't really... Bad Rabbit says, no, more America. No. No interesting things for you, more America only. Yeah, well. I would like to see the Manchuria campaign, because a Conflict 47 alternate history version of the Manchuria campaign would be very interesting. Because you can have the Soviets turn on the Japanese, or you could have the Japanese turn on the Soviets, or you can have it be much more mutual and building in border wars, and you can start that all the way in 44. You don't have to wait until like middle of 1945 for that. And so you can have a much longer campaign that is much more significant in conflict than it was in historically, and that just opens up a whole new line of a whole new area of lore that you can then build the models to represent. And that's something that I'm personally interested in. I definitely think my Japanese are going to be talking about kind of in that focus of being in the Manchuria campaign, fighting against the Soviets. And when I inevitably do my Soviet army, I will do the counterpart to that as well. Bad Rabbit says, agreed, that'd be a cool, super neat book. Thank you. I have a friend of mine who's writing some narrative stuff for our local groups, so that it's not necessarily kind of narrative stuff for conflict, it's just we are playing conflict and he's writing narrative stuff for our group so that we can have different styles of games. And things like the Manchuria campaign, things like the Middle East, things like Africa, and not just North Africa, not just kind of along that coast, but actually deep in Africa, and also deep in South America, places that weren't at war historically can be opened up. It sounds horrible. Hey, let's just bring this war to other countries that were at peace. But in a fictional setting, we can bring in more cultures, more story, more lore, and kind of throw things around. And we're going to do that in a non-canon kind of way, just for our local group. But I would love for Warlord to bring in some of this stuff as well. Tiki the Hut says, it seems more like the Emperor of Japan is setting up a greater Asia co-prosperity sphere with Manchuria, Thailand, and it seems like they're getting more countries to actually join. That's interesting. And that pushes the Manchuria campaign with the Soviets invading and also the British coming in from the West in a much more interesting position. Because all you need to do is come up with an excuse for the Axis being there somehow, and you've got all of the nations involved. So no one gets left out. Tiki says South and Central America and the Caribbean is their go-to setting. Yeah, cool. Bad Rabbit says Heart of Darkness style campaign or Burma book would be terrifying. I'm not 100% what Heart of Darkness is, but yes. Good releases for Halloween. We should have had the Totem Core in Halloween. Right, let's wrap up this quarter 4, and then we can go and have a look at the models that have been released in quarter 1. So we had a look at we spoke at length about the book that we don't know anything about, because I'm just really good at that. And for Japan, we have a hero. Yeah, we get a hero. Banzai, finally. By the end of the year, every nation now will have at least one hero available. Axis and the Americans have millions each. The Soviets have, what's his name? The Bear Man. Grigory. In quarter 2, the British will get one. In quarter 4, the Japanese will get one. Everyone gets at least one. That's good. There's also Empire of Japan, Walker New. I've got nothing because Japanese tank technology was pretty limited because their metallurgy was limited. Rev says Drogov, yes, for the Soviets. And their Walker technology in first edition Conflict 47 kind of follows on from that, in that the Inago is a licensed production copy of the German Heuschrecker. The Sasori, the Type 6 smaller one, is a copy sort of the Spinner, and I haven't heard specifically whether the Type 7 Sasori is a copy of the Vogelspinner or whether the Type 7's a larger version of, like an upsized version of the Type 6, in the same way that a Vogelspinner is an upsized version of the Spinner. Rev's pointed out something that I was going to mention in a moment. Hold that thought. Another Sasori would probably be kind of dull. A replacement to the Inago would be quite interesting. But as Rev just pointed out, a Ghost Walker. If the Americans can have jump pack infantry, can have little rucksack, jetpack on the rucksack, and then they can have mechs that can also have jetpacks and fly around. Well, surely the Japanese Ghosts, in their ability to rift through stuff and jump around the board, can we have our mechs doing that as well? Can you imagine a mech with fieldcraft? Can you imagine a mech that can just charge at a building and phase through it and just smash some infantry on the other side? Oh, wow. That's a thing. That's a thing to think about. A ghost mech. Yes, please. I'd like that. The final thing on quarter 4, which I actually missed the first time I looked through it, but I did notice eventually, is, to be confirmed, updated starter armies. This might be, I suspect, just a case of the models that are in there now getting replaced with the plastic versions of those same models. It might be that simple, right? And if it is that simple, that's great, because all of those models in all of those sets are really cool. I'm not as interested in the Ursus, sorry, but if they're coming in plastic, loads of people love those. That would be great. So if the British, the Japanese, and the Soviet starter sets came out in their fully plastic forms, given that over the course of the years, these might be the models that are coming out in plastic, that's great. So what we've seen over the course of the year is that a lot of stuff that has been rushed from plastic into ED-SKaR to get it out quickly is now going to be coming out in plastic. And so that makes sense that those starter armies are coming out in plastic. But what we're also seeing at several points throughout the year, especially in quarter one, is there's going to be a bunch of stuff that is brand new that is coming first as a plastic. So it's not in this kind of rushed switch over from plastic to ED-SKaR to get it out quickly. This is stuff that's coming out in plastic, intentionally as plastic. Oh, Woodimps in chat. Hello, how you doing? All I can say about the Japanese Walker is that its approach in design is being done completely different from anything else for K47 thus far. That is interesting. Yeah, Tiki the Hut, jump him quick. We'll put him on the rack and get more information out of him. That's interesting. That's actually a good thing, in my opinion, from a lore point of view, because up until now, all the way up to the Type 7 Sasori, every mech that the Japanese have is coming from Axis design. The Inago is essentially a Heuschrecker, and the Sasoris are modified variants of the Spinner and maybe the Vogelspinner. Depends on how that came out. If there's now a fully Japanese homegrown mech based on Japanese technology with Japanese styling, are we going to get another samurai-styled mech? Is it going to be a samurai-styled mech? Because that would be cool. Are we going to get something a little bit more Gundam? Because I've never really been a fan of Gundam. I mean, if that is what happens, Gundam's popular, it'll go just fine. And what's the other? The other option is some kind of yokai spirits. For those that haven't seen it, my previous live stream was discussing. It was a battle vlog of my tournament that I went to recently, and I took a yokai as my artillery observer. It was the Yuki-onna that I 3D printed, and I used her as my artillery observer for that. And I really like the idea of bringing in yokai, bringing in spirits for the Japanese, because that's such an important part of Japanese culture. So having kind of like a ghost mech would be cool. Having a spirit mech, a yokai mech, would also be cool. Woodimp says not just the design itself in universe, but its design process as well at Warlord. Papercraft mech confirmed. Okay, it comes as a 2-pack with a tube of Pritt stick in, so that you can fold it and glue the tabs together. It's Papercraft for sure, 100% now. I definitely don't understand that comment. If you're suggesting that the new mech that's coming out at the end of this year for the Japanese is made in a design process that Warlord has not done before, Warlord does all of them. Warlord does 2-part mixed resin. It does ED-SKaR resin. Warlord does the metal casting. It does plastic injection molding in various different styles. Plasticine, 3D printing as well. We know that Warlord Games uses 3D printing as part of the design process. Production version of 3D print doesn't make sense for Warlord because it's just the capacity isn't there. What else? What other? There is no other manufacturing technique that isn't that Warlord doesn't already do. Yeah, I'm going with papercraft. We're just gonna get. They're just gonna ask. Who is it? Does the Warlord paper? Is it Osprey? Whoever it is. They just asked to print off 1 million pages of in that nice thick cards that you can fold up, and we'll get a Pritt stick in the box as well. Oh, Grim Tim says origami mech. Oh, actually, yeah, forget papercraft. Origami, that's the one. That's the one. Woodimp says that if they say more, they'll be in trouble. Right, we're going to get you in trouble then. You'll see in due time. Well, yeah, apparently Q4. That's what it says in here. It is plastic. Oh, it is plastic. Oh, okay. The creative process. Right. I'm barking up the wrong tree. Hopefully the barking up the wrong tree was at least funny. Matt the W Phillips says, "Wouldn't give me a teeny bit of fluff about the mech." Yeah, actually, that would be more interesting than necessarily the physical model. I was mentioning earlier how the from a lore perspective, the Japanese mechs are kind of all hand-me-downs from Axis technology, the Heuschrecker and the Spinner. Can we get a half a sentence cut off in the middle of transmission through the rift of what the new Japanese mech is? And whilst you're typing up the very long answer of no, I'm going to move on from the roadmap now that we've talked it through. And we're going to have a look at all of the stuff that's out in Q1, because all of these models are being specifically brought up, or are being released as... what's the word? It was on my screen a second ago and I've forgotten the word. Pre-order. They're being released as pre-orders. There you go. It's been a long day. Right, I'm going to have a second to shuffle around my screen. There we go. So I should be able to see things like that. Let's move my webcam up a bit. There we go. We have had complete silence from Woodimp, so he's probably been grabbed by the shop staff and held down to stop him from typing anymore. We've got him in trouble. Success has been had. Right, let's discuss the various things that are on the pre-order for Q1. The obvious one here is the Totem Core, which we will talk about in a moment. The very interesting thing is the Nachtjäger, which is the SDKFZ Special Purpose Vehicle 501/1. We then also have down here some of the characters. We've got Roberta Wells, another sculpt for Roberta Wells. The benefit here is that this is a normal sculpt for Roberta Wells. It's not a special edition, so everyone can grab it. We have the Totenrotte, Platoon Commander and Bodyguards. That's a 3-model set. And then we have, if I move my camera there, Der Entenmann, Obernstarts, Albrecht von Zogling. And a lot of people are very excited about that model, because that model looks cool. That model really looks cool. But because that's the coolest model here, I'm going to talk about the most boring thing first. So this is Festung Europa, which is seemingly a campaign book, which is slightly disappointing for a few people, because we've been told and we've been rumored and we've been talking to each other about having novels, proper stories, beginning to end novels for Conflict 47. And there's so much that we can do in terms of, or so much that Warlord can do rather, in terms of novels and proper stories coming out of all of the stuff of the Rift and all of the stuff in Conflict 47. But this book, Festering Europa, isn't a novel. So if I find it on here, yeah. So in the book you'll find photography and artwork and illustrations, good stuff, timelines and short stories. Now there are short stories in there, so there is lore stuff in universe kind of stories. That's good. But then we talk about, but it's short stories, not a novel. And then there's game scenarios and more. So what this seems to be is far more likely going to be in the format of a campaign book, similar to how we've had campaign books for Bolt Action. That's my read on what this is. Which, yes, that's still cool, and is a 50-50 chance that I might still buy it, but that's a lot less interesting to me personally than a novel would be. Now, if you all want to jump in the chat and tell me whether you'd rather have a novel or whether you'd rather have a campaign book, that'll be actually quite interesting to talk about. There's been so much talk, or there was a couple of people at Warlord Games who have mentioned specifically novels, and so maybe it's just we have to be patient. Novels take time to write, and we will eventually get kind of proper big lore novels at some point in the future, and that's not what's coming yet. I'm hoping that is how things are, because I was looking at this and thinking, oh, we get the novel straight away. Yes, exciting. I love reading books. I read books on my lunch break at work. I read all the time. Actually, side note, the book series that I've just finished reading is the Southern Reach series. So that's, if anyone has seen the film Annihilation, that's based on the first book of Southern Reach, and I really enjoyed the series. As most of you know, I like my Stalker lore, Stalker computer games, Stalker films, and all that kind of stuff. And the first book in the Southern Reach was very much what I wanted. The other two kind of veered off in a different direction, but they were still good. Let's have a discussion with chat. I think my camera is ever so slightly drifting. There we go. That's better. Either that or I'm slouching, one or the other. Alfarius says they took inspiration from Gundam. It was mentioned in a Q&A with a designer months ago. Oh, I didn't see that. I've tried to keep up with everything to do with conflicts, and I just can't, because there's just so much stuff coming out. Rev says, needs an Isuzu mech. Ooh. You're not the first person to talk about transport mechs, and I don't know if there's a way of us doing this, but Ratman in chat has actually made, was it the Axis 251 with a bunch of legs attached to it and a tail, and he's using that as a transport for his Empire of Japan. I very much like the idea of bringing walking transports. There's space in there for a lot of modeling and lore and gaming stuff. Matthew Phillips says that someone tapes his fingers together, talking about Wood Imp and his secrets that he's releasing to us. Grim Ting says, completely off topic, but when I was watching the tourney battle report, a question pops into my head. What happens when two people are matched up using the same color order dice? So order dice, and in Conflict 47 also Rift dice, is very important. And it's important that you have a different color from your opponent. Most of the time you do have a different color because there are just so many colors available. But The regular players, the more experienced players, will have a second set. I personally have about 6 sets of at least 12 order dice, just because I've been playing for so long and I've collected them up from all of the different places that I've got them from. And I am always more than willing to say, oh, the 2 guys on this table have the same color dice, borrow one of my sets. Not an issue. When it comes to Rift dice, there are still quite a few colors, but a slightly narrower selection. Everybody has the black and the green because that's what's coming in the Axis and American starter sets. But the red, blue, yellow, a couple of other colors, people are buying them just so that they can have a different color. If you're a new player, don't worry, turn up with what you have and other players will help you out. Generally speaking, the Bolt Action and Conflict 47 player community is very friendly. They'll help you out. But the more experienced players will more than likely have a completely separate set. Whenever I go to a tournament, I always have 2 sets of order dice. I don't have enough Rift dice to have 2 colors, but I've got a full set of 1, and I have a small number of the yellow ones from the Japanese starter set as well. So yeah, you do need different colors of both order dice from your opponent and Rift dice from your opponent. Tiki the Hut says you can sub some out for sub out order dice with colored D6. You can actually do that with the Rift dice as well. In the old 2nd edition rulebook, it says that you can you don't actually need to use the order dice at all. You can use plastic chits, which means tiddlywinks, or bits of paper with the faction written on it. If you don't have the stuff yet, there are ways to get around that. You don't need to immediately buy loads and loads of stuff to get started in these games. If you buy one of these starter armies, you have order dice and Rift dice. That's fine. But if you don't have enough, or if you do have the same color as your opponent, you can use plastic tokens, paper, like cutouts of card. It can be done. Woodimp says he has posable legs as well, which is nice. I have no idea what we're talking about. Someone has posable legs. Ratman's talking about a game that we had yesterday or the day before. We both have yellow dice, so one of us switched to green. Woodimp says that this is essentially an Imperial armor book, but for K47. Well, we don't talk about the other game on this channel. We do. So Imperial armor, I think the first of the second set of Imperial armor. And Imperial armor, the version that I had it didn't have any story really to it. It was more a case of, here's a vehicle and here's a tiny bit of story about what happened to one example of this vehicle. And here's another vehicle and here's kind of how this vehicle affected the campaign, and that was it. There was no kind of story. So I would be very disappointed if that was the case, if Festung Europa was that style. Like I said, I'm looking forward to novels, which hopefully are coming in the future. Maybe I just have to be patient. I can be patient. Turner Rhombus says, think the campaign book is better for the start. Okay. Lots of fluff is needed to fill out the gap in the lore. Novels are very focused books on specific events. Interesting. That's a good point of view. So having a campaign book is a much more general laying out groundwork for a whole bunch of stuff, because there's not a lot of lore in existence yet. And if they were to make a novel, it would be focused on a specific character. I see that point of view. I actually do appreciate that point of view. I still would rather have a novel because I like novels. I read books all the time. Woodimp says a lot of the work and planning has been to set up the best way to tell the story. So if their writers advise to start with a campaign book and expand from there, that might be better in the long run. Along the same lines of thinking. Okay, that I'm willing to accept a new point of view, and that is a new point of view to me. That is an interesting way to think about it. And actually, yeah, bringing people into the lore in a wider context before focusing it, that's interesting. Okay, I'm on board. I'm on board officially. Thank you to Rhombus and Woodimp for pointing for bringing that kind of perspective to bear. I'm still 50-50 on buying this book. If it was a novel, it would be 100%, but it's 50-50 at the moment. Realistically, I may end up with it. Bad Rabbit says, bring on the audiobooks. If Warlord ever wanted a really grouchy voice, because I've got a sore throat and a cold, but I do have a better voice when I'm not got a sore throat. I've got a nice microphone. I can set it up properly. The audio today is not perfect, but it's fairly good. I can definitely read audiobooks. I have read for audiobooks in the past. I have read for online kind of radio dramas kind of things before. So if you need like a really gruff, if you need a chav voice, I can do a chav voice. Matthew Phillips says, same, but I want the missions, so I'm more 60% in buying it. Oh, that's actually fair. The missions and the other things in the campaign book are valuable things, and I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing those, which wasn't, maybe that is how I came across. It's not quite what I meant. I've been playing war games for 30 years. I've got a lot of missions and things up in my head. I came up with missions for our local group, and I just turn up and go, okay, deploy like this. This is the mission objective. This, do this, that, and the other. This special rule, and everyone's like, oh, that actually worked really well, and everyone enjoyed playing it. I was like, yeah, I know, because I've been doing this for a long time. It's not necessarily my ideas. It's just I've seen this done before. I actually need to do a video on my Rattenkrieg rules pack. So we came up with a Tank War rules pack for 3rd edition, which is essentially just switching the platoons around so you can do 2nd edition Tank War, but in 3rd edition. And a lot of other people have done very similar things. I came up with Rattenkrieg, which is just about the opposite of Tank War. And I came up with it as just a bit of a fun thing. But we played it at our local tournament, and everyone loved it. And so we played it again, and it's now in our regular rotation. Every 4 months we play Tank War once, we play Rattenkrieg once, and we play a beginner's day once, and we play a standard game once. So that's our rotation. Woodimp says might take you up on the call. Oh dear, I've got myself into some actual work now. Like to make a voice pack for battle reports, like in a real-time strategy. When you focus on the unit, you get that "yes sir" sound effect for every unit in the game. Click, yes sir. Click, mandatum. Click, chopper. Yeah, you can tell what real-time strategy I've played. Guesses in the chat for what real-time strategy I just referenced there. I'm sure about half of you will probably get that right. But while you're making those guesses, I'm going to talk about another plastic unit that's coming for Conflict 47 in the Q1 release that I'm probably going to actually buy myself. And this is the Totenkor Horde. It's 1st edition Totenkor, 10 models in a box. Kind of cool models, not gonna lie. All German, which we'll come back to in a moment. But now we are getting Conflict 47 Totenkor. 2nd edition. In plastic. And that's awesome. So what you can't see behind my webcam here is the price. £37. So £37 is the same price as the Stahltruppen, and this is the same price as the Fireflies. We'll talk about Fireflies in a moment. I have a bone to pick with Warlord Games about the Fireflies. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, the Totenkor are the same price as the Conflict 47, the other Conflict 47 infantry. This may be a standard price. Probably, that's kind of how Warlord do things. But, the Stahltruppen are 9 models in a box, which means they're about £4 a model. The Fireflies are 18 models in a box, means they're about £2 a model. The Totenkor Excuse me while I just move that there. The Totem Core are 30 models to a box. 30 models for £37 means they are just... I clicked on something by mistake there. Means they are just over £1 a model. And for mass infantry hordes, which is what zombies are supposed to be, that's a good price. That's okay. It's the cheapest of any of the Conflict 47 infantry, and it's about the same price as the bolt action infantry. That's cool. We like that. And I'm definitely getting these. What we don't have, I'll go through the pictures in a second. We don't have a picture of the sprue, and that's normal. Warlord games will usually release something, and then eventually, kind of a few weeks later, we see the actual picture of the sprue. So we don't have a picture of the sprue yet. We just have the completed models. And these ones are painted by Kirsten over at Warlord Games, who always does a beautiful job. And here we go. Let's have a closer look at these. So these are the German ones. They look great. They look great. Can chat jump in and agree with me that these models look really, really good? This guy over here on the left has his intestine hanging out. He doesn't seem to be particularly phased by it, but this guy here is wearing the heavy armor. I suspect that this is going to be the same as the Schwertruppen, the heavy troopers for the Germans, because I don't recognize this armor specifically, but he's wearing a Stahlhelm, and so this is probably the a new version of the Schwertruppen. Interestingly, that we get the Schwertruppen version of the model before we get the Schwertruppen. We get the Totem Core Schwertruppen before the actual Schwertruppen, if that's true. Or it might just be the zombies were made with the armor that the zombies were made with. Woodimp says bottom right model is model of the year. Yeah, this poor guy here, he ain't got no limbs left. He's just kind of shuffling along with his shoulders, trying to bite you in the ankles, definitely. Matthew Phillips says, not all German, apparently they can raise Americans now. Yes, we'll mention that in a moment. The Totem Core, these are the German ones. We'll look at the American ones in a second. Woodimp Schrock had me do some voice work for K47 projects. Not very good at it. I think I disagree with that. Tiki's voice comes across very nicely on microphone. They stole riff tech from the Empire of Japanese. Interesting. So a lot of the mech tech from from the Japanese is coming from the Axis, but a lot of the other riff tech, the Shibori rifle, the Shibori cannon, and the ghost ability, the ghost dance, that's all Iwo Jima. Not dead yet. No, this guy's still going. This guy down here, he's still going. Am I the only one that had zero desire to face an all-zombie? Awesome Out West says, am I the only one who had zero desire to face an all-zombie army? Does an axis-on-axis battle turn into a rugby scrum with 6 turns of close combat? I will say, when I saw the starter army for the zombie horde, I was a little bit sad about that. I'll kind of talk about this later, because facing one unit of 12 Totem Core and in an otherwise normal conflict army, kind of a tool bag list, if you will, that's hard. And it's at the point, and I as a Japanese player, I'm at the point where I either focus everything on the zombies or I ignore the zombies and focus on everything else. I can't do both. And so having a fully Totem Core army is horrible. It's an unpleasant thing to play against, and I kind of agree with you on that. Grim Tim Sims says, unknown model could be a Fallschirmjäger Falcon. Oh, this armor, do you think that might be Italian? I hadn't considered Italian. I don't know what the Falcon, the Italian ones actually look like. It might be that armor. That might be the case. What I will say, that I'm holding in my hand just here, and I'll show you this in a second, is now that we have the precedence from Warlord Games that armored models are also being brought back as Totem Core, I need to say that they're copying me. Warlord Games are copying me. It's official, because right here is my Stahltruppen Shibito. Here is the only Stahltruppen I've actually finished building. Here's a... the weapon arm has been ripped off, so it's just got the bear and there, and I've got a zombie head. Sorry, I'm drifting all over the place. My view is reversed. How do I make it easier for you to see it? There, that's a bit better. So this is my Stahltruppen Shibito. And so I came up with the idea first, Warlord Games. You can pay me royalties for that idea. But I'm not done being mad yet, because I need to be mad about something else. Because not only did I make the Stahltruppen Shibito, if we look over here, the Totem Corps now consists of not only German troops brought back, but Allied troops. These are all Americans. We have a variety of Americans. We have what looks like the Winter Americans here. We have what looks like a Marine, I think. And we have here a Firefly Totem Corps. And I am going to be mad, Warlord Games, once again, because this is my Shibito Firefly. I came up with the idea first. I painted it before you did. It's not painted as well as yours. That's not the point. I got there first. I'm coming up with Conflict 47 Shibito units. Short story is I'm definitely getting this box because it is a very reasonable price and they're cool models. I think, let's go back to the Americans. This guy here, who's just sawn in half. That's cool. And then, yeah, like we mentioned on the German half of things, this guy here, that's got no limbs left. He's still trying to scrabble towards you and bite your ankles off. That's cool. I already have a Daughter of the Motherland on the way as a Shibito. And I also have one of my Ashigaru as a Shibito already painted. So all I need to do now is finish painting my Daughter of the Motherland Shibito, and I have all 5. I have 1 each. And then I can just add a bunch of Totem Corps. Yeah, there we go. Doesn't that look cool? Doesn't that look cool? Bad Rabbit said checks in the mail for sure. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'll just wait by the post for that. Tiki Hut says, found a possible lore leak. Check the K-47 unit description for the Empire of Japan medium anti-tank gun. Excuse me a moment while I follow up on Tiki Hut's suggestion. Empire of Japan medium anti-tank gun. Not the Imperial Japanese. The IJA, Imperial Japanese Army. I'm going to look at you with great suspicion every second of every day. So, according to this, there is no Empire of Japan medium anti-tank gun. So I'm going to search for the Imperial Japanese Army version instead. I'm also not finding... I'm also not seeing anything for the Empire of Japan. Let me just grab that. Oh, I've messed up my stream. Hang on. I apologize for having a black screen for so long. So, according to the search on Warlord Games website, there is no Conflict 47 Empire of Japan medium anti-tank gun. Are you pulling my leg? Tiki, are you pulling my leg? I think he's definitely pulling my leg. It's either that or there's one of those Totem Corps going here. Use the app. I do not have the app. Also, I can't show the app on stream. Bad Rabbit said there's another way of looking at the zombie issue is now you'd be able to field your zombie horde as either German or Japanese units. Nice versatility. I mean, that was always the plan. I was going to get a lot more... excuse me. I was going to get a lot more German Shibito. Totem Core Shibito are essentially the same thing, but now the American Totem Core and Shibito are also the same thing. I'm just going to build up loads and loads and loads of zombies, which will be based in the same way that my Japanese are based, but I will then use them in my German, my Axis army whenever needed. Right, next. There's a couple more models we have to look at. And one of them is this weird-looking mech thing. It's off the side. I'm going to bring it over here so that we can have a better look at it. It is the Nachtzehrer, which, good lord, my pronunciation is great. Let's go and see what a translation will be. Ooh, that's metal. That is. So the translation for Nachtzehrer is Night Eater. Night Eater. So what this vehicle does, I have had a discussion with someone a moment ago about what this does. I'm just going to highlight that and see if Ratman is still in chat and can just confirm that that is. He's sending me messages. Very happy about that. This vehicle, on Warlord's listing, it's called the Nachtzehrer, which is unfortunately a slight typing error on Warlord Games' part. I mean, we understand some errors do happen. The correct term is. I'm just looking it up now. Just give me a moment. We found the correction a little while ago. The correct name is it's not the Nachtzehrer, it's the Hermit Crab of Death. Right, okay, everyone in chat, just so we know, the Hermit Crab of Death is the correct name for this vehicle, and we're going to use that going forwards. Ratman has been very helpful and just sent me an image of the app. So this is from the Warlord Games app. I'm going to have to read it from my phone screen to you guys. So this is the medium anti-tank gun team. So this is a mundane unit within the Conflict 47 list selection. Not since Khalkhin Gol battles against the Soviet Union had the Japanese faced enemy tanks in open combat. Consequently, they had lagged behind the other powers in the development of anti-tank guns, which is probably why they don't have a heavy anti-tank gun. They've only got lights and mediums. When the first United States Walkers appeared on Iwo Jima, the Japanese 47mm anti-tank gun was simply too small to have any real impact. Yeah, 47's not going to do much against a linebacker. However, it remains a potent tool against the personal powered armor becoming ever more prevalent on the battlefields worldwide. I mean, yeah. A 47mm anti-tank gun against a SAR troop, and now that's another story. Tikita has also sent me on Discord, which I assume is what Ratman has just sent me. Yep, same thing. Thank you very much, Tiki, and thank you very much, Ratman, for sending me that. I hadn't noticed this. And I'm sad that I hadn't noticed this, but in the app, for all of the mundane, like historical equivalent units in the app, actually have a little bit of lore that is specifically Conflict 47 lore for those units and why they're still being used. That's cool. I appreciate that. I like that. Americans on Iwo Jima, possible campaign book? Probably. Yeah, probably one. Well, certainly a Pacific Theatre campaign book, which would include Iwo Jima. We were talking about the Nachtzehrer. Sorry, the Hermit Crab of Death. This is a weird, gribbly looking thing. I like it. I'm not sure if I want one, but I like it. So what this does is this is a on the battlefield totem core making machine mech thing. So there's some kind of serum that it's dripping out into the corpses of the fallen, and then those get back up as totem core. That's sort of what this thing is, which is very interesting. We don't have any stats or points values for this. Tiki the Hut says, and you didn't trust me. Tiki, I still don't trust you. But it looks cool. Mechanized hermit crab. It's kind of a little bit, and I hope you'll forgive me for saying this, it's a little bit Star Wars in that it's something kind of familiar in kind of, it looks kind of like a hermit crab, but then it's mechanical and stylized in a very Conflict 47 way with all of these rivets everywhere. I like it. I actually do like this model. It does look kind of cool. And I like that we've got this kind of, not just a little cupola with the hatch, but this larger hatch. So we've got crewmen jumping out of it. I'd actually be very interested in converting this to have a totem core jumping up out of the top. Maybe. We could do that. This thing looking very cool. We also, if we look down the page, there's a Zug of them. So £28 for one, and £84 is the normal price for a Zug of 3. There is another unit in the Starter Army, so we'll talk about that before we talk about the Starter Army, and that is the Totenrotte Platoon Commander. I have just a week ago printed a zombie Nazi officer for a friend of mine to run as the officer in a Totem Core platoon. We didn't know any of this was coming when I did that. So that's that. It's basically just a German officer in the normal officers, kind of historical officers cap, as a zombie. This is something different, and there's a few things we can notice on these models. Woodimp says 2 variants of the Crab Boy, though, don't forget. I've been told off. I will go back. I shall return to... Do we have pictures of the... Oh, we have different paint schemes. It's got a thing on the top. Is that different? Ah, here we go. Is this the difference? Some of them have claws and some of them have... Are those syringes? Is that just to inject the zombie serum into the corpses faster? There is one thing about Warlord Games website that I dislike, and this is coming up right now, and I'm going to complain about it because it's what I do. It's my national sport. I'm British. I'm going to complain. If only I could be in a queue while complaining, that would be even better. But there's 4 pictures here. And to go all the way through, if you can hear my clicking, the animation for this, I can click 3 times or 4 times by the time it's actually moved 1 position. And there's no way to have like a menu of the pictures. I would love to have just a little box here that you could click a button, pop up, and it would show, okay, there's 4 rows of 10, like, and it shows all the pictures. And you click on the one you want to see. Much easier to get around. Anyway. That's irrelevant. Don't worry about that. The white one, twin flamers, separate weapon profiles, so split fire. Way. Ooh. So these are flamethrowers? Normal flamethrowers, not Totem Core Serum flamethrowers. I mean, okay then. That's the opposite of making zombie, because can't. Isn't it that fire destroys the body enough that the body can't be used as totem core anymore? I thought that was the case, which means that using flamethrowers is kind of counterproductive for a hermit crab that makes zombies. Am I misreading something somewhere? We've got a claw variant that makes zombies, and that looks like a syringe for the serum, if I'm correct or not, I don't know. And this is a flamethrower variant. And they're two separate weapons, so they can be split fired. But here's a question. Can I have one flamethrower and one claw? Bless you, Ratman. Matthew Phillips says that's what the Empire of Japanese needs, a light mech with a flamethrower. I actually think, for the Japanese, we have the Type 6 Sasori without the tail, which is kind of rubbish, but people are using it as a close combat bully unit. It's got 2 machine guns and it can charge into combat with its 4 legs. Then we have the big Sasori that can't not have a tail, that has claws. And so what we actually need, what a lot of, and this is not just me that's thought of this, we need a Type 7 Sasori that can have the tail removed to use it specifically as a close combat mech. Because that would be probably 105 or 115 points. And it would have 4 legs and 2 claws. That would be great to run that around as a close combat. So for those who don't know, there's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Ratman is currently reviewing my stream from the next room, and he sneezed, and I think everybody on stream heard him. Thank you very much to Ratman for looking after my stream. Yeah. Woodimp, if you can answer this question, if you're allowed to, can I run one flamethrower and one claw? Because I just like having variety of stuff. There was, if we talk about other companies for a moment, the Mantic Games, Iron Father's like Walker mech for the Space Wolves. There's one with 2 hammers, there's one with 2 guns, and then there's one with a hammer and a gun. And it's like, that's the cool one. I actually really like the one with 2 guns, but having one of each. And this would be the same. And you can have one flamethrower, because one flamethrower is a lot. 2 flamethrowers are better, but one flamethrower is still a lot. And so if you could have one flamethrower and one claw, you could still make zombies and flame away the enemy. I'm just saying, that would be nice. William says he doesn't know. Understandable, that's cool. Where were we? Right, we were talking about the Totenrotte officer, and this seems to be a platoon commander, kind of a regular platoon commander, but specifically to be in command of Totem Corps. And as we look at the starter army in a moment, good grief, it's a lot of zombies. So, talk about having an event, like a wargaming event. Like wargamers are like herding cats. What's it like with Totem Corps? How do you order that many Totem Corps around? Ah, man, that must be difficult. But what we have here, Sturmgewehrs, and the officer himself has what very, very much looks like the Vampire night sights, and they do have gas masks with goggles, so it very well might be that these have some kind of heat-seeking or heat vision in the terms of infrared. So this raises a question that may be totally off mark. Do the Totem Corps have a heat signature? Because they're dead, but they've come back from the dead. So can you see them in infrared? It's one of those lore questions that you sort of have to ask. I don't know. I actually am not convinced that this is the Vampire Night Sight. I think it's more likely to be just a lamp, because the other 2 guys have something similar on their shoulders. So it might just be that they're lamps, they're torches, so that they can see in the dark. It kind of has the same effect. It's Me Rev says, stick with brains on a string. Come here, little Totem Corps. Come here, little Come on, little Totem Corps. Yeah, here we go. Kit bash that. I dare you. I dare you to kit bash that. I want to see a picture of that model kit bashed and painted on my desk tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Tomorrow's Saturday. Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Yeah, these are fine. These are okay models. They've got interesting armor, gas masks, and they've got Sturmgewehrs. Compared to some of the other officers we've seen and some of the special characters we've seen for Conflict, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not bad models. They're just not as... There's nothing really cool about these. I've got nothing to complain about, though. So now that we've seen every element of it, we can drop into the Totenrote starter army. So we get the officer we talked about. We get... I'll have to check whether it's 1 or 2 of the mechs. And then we get a bunch of the zombies. And that looks like more than 30. So we'll have to read the description in a moment to see how many are in there. I do want to check on the mechs first. Because in the Italian bolt-action starter army, there were 2 variants of tank. But you only got 1 tank. And so it had on the picture both of them. But said you can only have 1. So let's double check on that. And... right there, it says 2 times the... shame, it's got the name wrong here as well. This is obviously the Hermit Crab of Death. We'll send an email to Warlord and they can correct it. Don't worry about it. So we definitely have 2 of the mech. And we have 45 of the... So that's 1.5 boxes. That's interesting. It's not 2 boxes. It's 1.5 boxes of the zombies. And then we get the... Totenrote platoon commander, MDF and plastic bases for everyone, and assembly guides like we would expect. Yeah, so 45 zombies. Tiki the Hut says roll up the dual barrel 20mm anti-air gun. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think we need a lot more anti-air guns. We need more autocannons. We need more autocannons than that. I mean, I actually ran 2 of the twin autocannons in my previous event tournament that I went to, and they did well. They were great. They weren't game winning. They weren't super powerful, but they were just solid. 2 shots. I can roll 2 misses very easily, which is a problem. But I think anyone else with a twin autocannon would be great. But against zombies, the problem is they got the rise from the dead. And if you've got a squad of 12 and you're gunning them down 2s and 3s at a time, they get a new rift die and bring them all back so quickly. This is a difficult army to fight. This is going to be difficult. How much are... Can someone check in the Axis armies of and see how much 1 Totem Core model is and how much 45 of them will end up being? Because we've got an officer, 3 model officer, probably veteran, probably with armor, with also probably some special rule, which will bump up his points. He's looking at being 80, 90, 100 points. The 2 mechs... we don't really know much about them. We don't have their stats, so I can't say for certain, but it looks to me like a light mech, so it's probably 150 points, maybe, probably. So if that's 300, 400 for the officer as well, and then we've got 45 Totem Core. If the Totem Core are 20 points a model, that would be 200, 800, 900. It's Me Rev says 21 points. Thank you. So that's this box is well over 1,000 points. Depending on exactly how much those mechs are, it could be anywhere from kind of 1,200, maybe up to 1,500 points. For anyone who's played Conflict 47 at the full 1,500 points, can your army kill 45 zombies dead without them being able to get back up? I'm not sure I can. I could take out one. I could focus everything and focus down one squad, and I'd have a darn good go at the second. But that's 4 full squads, right? That's harsh. That is hard. Tiki says, yeah, no problem, easy. Do it in half an hour and then can go for an early lunch at the tournament. Yeah, no problem for Tiki. It's me. Rev says, send in the bears. Actually, that's a good point. If you can be immune to the Totem Core get +1 on a surging Rift Die. They get +1 in close combat. So if you can make sure they don't have a Rift Die, or they don't have a surging die, and you send in an armor 7 stuff, you just slowly chew through them. This is a tough army to fight. The thing is, it's also an unfun army to fight against, which is a different question. It really depends on what those mechs do. It's me. Rev says, guts the bears and have them wrapped up by turn 2. Tiki says, not easy but doable with 1500. Yeah, I don't think this is a broken list. I'm not saying this is totally broken. This is outside of the realm of what you can actually fight against. I'm just saying it's a difficult list to play against, and it's one of those ones where you sort of have to fight it on its terms, which just limits what you can do and how you can play, and that makes it less fun. Although I haven't played, I used to play a Horde army. I used to play orcs, so I can't really complain about that. I lost every game, so that's a different story. Right. Oh yeah, well, let's look at pricing as well. £110 of your finest sterlings. We have 45 zombies. They're just over £1 each, so that's nearly half the box, or about half the box. So for the other half of the box, you're getting 2 mechs and the officer. That's not unreasonable. That's not unreasonable at all. I think the American starter army is still the best by far, because 2 linebackers. Those models are really nice. How does this compare to... all the games? Axis starter. How does it compare to this? Because this is what it's... I was going to say replacing. Not replacing, that's the wrong term. This is what its counterpart is. This is the Conflict 47's Axis Starter Army. 5 Nachtalben, 3 Strahltruppen and a Strahltruppen officer, Vogelspinner, and the Panzer IV mech. Now, as has been mentioned before, I personally don't like the Panzer IV mech. A lot of people really do like it, so I can accept that it's a good model, it's popular, and it's huge. Compared to the Zombie Horde, you're getting 2 mechs still, but they're much smaller mechs. I think these are probably on the same terms as a Vogelspinner in terms of how big they are, how complex they are to build, kind of how much plastic you're getting. It's not necessarily a important part of the argument, but some people can see it that way. But then you're getting massive amounts of zombies. It's a difficult one to compare, actually. Ticket Up says, just played against a Soviet list with Heavy Walkers, Officer, Daughters, and Mark 1s. Lost, but it was still fun. Hey, fun, it means you're winning. Winning the game doesn't matter. Having fun means you won. Haven't played Conflict 47. I haven't liked yet. It's not the army, it's the player that can ruin it. I absolutely agree with that. My local, I'm really happy with my local group being just such a friendly bunch of people. We have definitely not got that competitive mindset, and we never have. Throughout our Bolt Action, I've been playing Bolt Action at this group for 3 years, more than 3 years now, and I've been playing Conflict 47 since the launch, although we missed a couple of events due to drama. Yeah, our group is lovely. Every single one of them. I have never really had any trouble with anyone at our group. And I for those that don't know, a little while ago I did an interview with the tournament organizer of the Bolt Action events when he stepped down from that, and even he says, plug for my own video there. Go back and watch that. That's definitely worth watching because it's an interesting perspective into wargaming, that kind of seeing it from his point of view. But he has said that there was only ever one guy that was a problem, and even that was just like a bit of a kind of a feels bad moment that they got caught up in, and then kind of as soon as they kind of walked out, everything was fine again. Roberta Wells can take their riff dice so they can't regen. Ooh, yeah, riff mastery and stuff like that. That would be good. Jackals with flamethrowers and melee. Paragons give anyone double turns. Doable for the US. Yeah, there's some really powerful stuff in the US and in the Soviets as well. Drugov. Talk to me about Drugov versus a unit of Token Core. That's an easy fight. But can he kill 2 units of Totem Core? Can he kill 3 units of Totem Core? That's the real question. Tiki says, building a good scene here in Florida. Matthew Phillips says, same here. We have a great group of guys at your local. Great, yeah. That's something that I think it's not universal, and I can't say it's universal, but it is relatively consistent. Bolt Action players and Conflict 47 players, for the most part, are generally nice. Generally nice. Being a historical game, Bolt Action does tend to push out the unfortunate elements that tend to gravitate to certain elements in wargaming. Fictional games, people cover that up by saying, oh, it's the lore, it's fictional universe, blah, 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 while they actually really mean unpleasant political things that I won't get into. Whereas in a historical setting, like a group that's interested in the historical setting will generally push those people out. And it's similarly Conflict 47, even though it's now we're talking fictional, we still have that core basis of that mindset of this stuff was horrible, don't need to be bringing it back in real life. Let's bring it back on the tabletop and have a lot of fun, however. Tiki has an event coming up in April, so anyone in the Central Florida area, look out for that, because that's going to be good fun. Anything run by Tiki is always a good time. Let's move on. So what have we looked at? We've looked at all of the individual bits of the starter army, and we've looked at the book. So now we have just one last thing. And this one last thing has got a few people really quite interested, because this is fun. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Some kind of scientist strapped into this little set of walker legs, almost like a wheel, kind of a mobility aid that's not a wheelchair, with a couple of arms over the top, and he's got a pistol and knuckle dusters. I want you to all focus on the knuckle dusters. This guy really means business. He's coming for you, man. Bad Rabbit says, Doc Uzi Zombie Man. Yeah. Look at this model, man. This is cool. Limited Time AK says, whoa. And that's right. Absolutely. Ratman says, Inspector Gadget. Yeah. Go Gadget Knuckle Dusters. What pistol has he got? I'm not sure, but I think that's a Luger pistol, which is cool, because Lugers are nice. Had a friend with an airsoft Luger many years ago. It's a really nice thing. Tiki Hut says Dr. Doofenshmirtz. I'm not sure if that's a reference. I don't get it. Bad Rabbit says Techno Necromancer. Actually, yeah. Is this guy a Totem Core related scientist? Oh, wait. Before we go and look at the lore, let's look at the other bits of... Yeah, look at that. I've said many times, and I'm going to bore you with saying this again, I have always been less interested in Warlord games mechs for Conflict 47 whenever I look at it, because they're always in this standing to attention, normal, boring, upright pose. Every single one of them. And I'm never really interested. And then I get one, and I pose it in a different way, and it's like, oh, actually, no, this is cool. It's really cool in this cool pose that's jumping over a rock or smashing someone in the face or whatever. This guy, finally, Warlord Games, yes, they've put this one in a very strict and rigid pose, but this one, in the walking pose, all you need to do is lift up the legs and it suddenly becomes a much more interesting model, much cooler, much kind of skittering little spider thing. Yeah, that's nice. I don't have the picture to hand, but in the Wargames Illustrated, there was a Vogelspinner that was modified, that the legs were modified to be so that the hull was lower and it was skittering across the floor. And it really looked like, viscerally looked like it was skittering across. I think that was Kirsten's, one of the painter at Warlord Games. It was her personal modification. That was great. Just skittering spider thing. I think doing that to this, where you lower it down so that his feet are close to the... Tiki, what are you clipping? I don't even know what I said. Hopefully it's something sensible. Lowering this down and then having these legs much more splayed out, kind of like this. That's going to be cool. I wonder if you lean him forwards as well. Lean him forward so that it really looks like he's scrabbling forwards. I'm not sure if that would work. That might not work because having him upright in the middle is kind of very visually distinct part of it, and having him leaning forwards might kind of spoil the look. I don't know. I may have to see that happen. That's the top view. Oh, he's got loads of wires going into his head. It looks like the arms are actually different lengths. Are they? No, I think the two arms are the same, but one's extended and one's folded. We spoke about this earlier in the stream. I like having modular stuff. I like having modular things. And when it comes to infantry, I like being able to put any set of arms on any body on any set of legs so that you can have that variety. When it comes to vehicles, and this is 50% a vehicle model here, I like hinges and stuff. Whether I don't need it to be a proper hinge, but I would like to be able to put it in any position that I choose so that I can position the model how I like. And it looks like this is one fully extended one as a single piece and one folded one as a single piece. It might not be the case. Might not be the case. But that certainly is. I'm still coming back to his knuckle duster. This guy means business. He's got these spider legs. He's got these arms with spikes on. He's got a pistol. And it's like, no, that's not enough. I need to make absolutely sure. So I'm bringing my knuckle dusters. It's Me Rev says, like when a spider rears back and has its two front legs ready to attack. Rev, have you seen my Vogelspinner video? I would like you to go back and watch that because you may enjoy that. Tiki Hut says, Ratman, or to Ratman, I like your idea of the legged 251. Yeah, that is a cool model. Ratman, have you painted that yet? I don't think I've seen it painted. I've seen it built. I was there when you built it. Built it at the Warlord Games open day on the like the kit bash table. There was some cool stuff going on that kit bash table, and then there was me putting Stahltrooper legs on a Napoleonic soldier. Bad Rabbit says hobby saw will do. Yeah. Dremel says brr. Absolutely. I've been wargaming for 30 years. I have taken Dremels to metal models. I was there when the sun rose for the first time on conversions. Definitely. Bad Rabbit says didn't dig the spider videos in the video. Don't dig spider. I did put a warning I did put a warning so that you could skip over that section. I know not everyone wants to look at the spiders. Yeah, thank you. Right then. I think, unless we want to talk about the Hellenistic ballistas, which, I mean, they're cool, just not what we're talking about today. So I think we've discussed everything. We've especially discussed the roadmap, which we're very excited about. And we're also just over 2 hours, which is how long I usually stream for. So I would probably wrap up the stream about now. So like I usually do, I'm going to leave it for a few minutes. I'm going to let chat ask any questions, post any comments about things that's going on. If there's something I've missed, tell me now. Otherwise, I will miss it forever, no doubt. There's some cool stuff coming. There's definitely some cool stuff coming. The Totem Core infantry, I'm certainly getting. The Festung Europa campaign book, I'm kind of on the fence about, but I am leaning towards. Leaning towards getting, I mean. The other stuff for the Axis, I'm not directly interested in, although some of it is cool, especially that last character guy on that spindly spider thing. That's just cool. Grim Tim Tim says, roadmap needs more Italy. You are 100% on the money there. I heard a rumor, and I don't know how true this is, but I heard a rumor that the most common comment that Warlord Games got, the most common kind of email and comments on social media and everything else, the most common subject was, where's Italy? After the release of Conflict 47, second edition. And I definitely agree with that. I would love to see Italy, as both North and South Italy, as their own solid factions, or at least expanded to the point that you can play an Italian Axis army or a Southern Italian with American support army. Oh, Bad Rabbits says, PSA, if you get the pre-order for Festung Europa book, so if you pre-order the book, this one, before the 7th, you get the art print, which is this. Excuse me. Does it say how big? Is it like an A3 poster, laminated poster, or... it says down here. No, it just says that it's coming with an art print. Okay. This is a cool poster. I'm not gonna lie. That's a cool poster, and it looks like this is the guy with knuckle dust. Those are not knuckle dusters. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I can't end the stream yet. They're not knuckle dusters. I was wrong this whole time. That is a triple syringe. So is he Totem Core scientist, and he goes around punching people with Totem Core serum? Oh, that's awesome. This model is growing on me more and more every time I look at it. It's such a cool model, especially when you can move the legs like that. Look at it. Look at it. It's stupid. It's ridiculous, and I love it. I may end up getting this. I might. There's a donation link in the description of this stream if you really want me to get that, and I will paint it on stream, or I can paint it as a video. Depends on how things go. That's a cool model. Look at him with his syringe gauntlet. That's a step up from knuckle dusters. That really is. Right. What were we talking about? Yeah. Bad Rabbit says, get this before the 7th and you get the art print, and it's that piece of artwork with the Totem Core and scientist and some bombers flying overhead. And Grim Tim Tim talking about the Italians, some future Alpini. Ooh. I actually kind of liked the Alpini in the Galahad armor. They weren't really great, but they were an interesting alternate, and it makes sense for them to be in the Galahad armor, kind of supplied by the Brits. But what I really liked was the Roman North Italian armor, and I'm sad that they never made the officers' version of that, because I did a series of each of the armored officers for all 5 factions of Conflict 47 in first edition. So I've got all of them. I've got videos up on each one of those, and I would love to have added the North Italians to that with the Centurion kind of gladiator kind of vibe to it. That's because they're cool models. I didn't want a box of 10 though. I wanted just 2 or 3. It's Me Rev says might as well get the bundle. Yeah, I mean, it's a good deal. It's a good deal. The thing with the bundle is the bundle doesn't come with Syringe Gauntlet Man. It comes with everything else, but it doesn't come with Syringe Gauntlet Man. So what I'm actually interested in is maybe Syringe Gauntlet Man, maybe probably the book with Roberta Wells' model, and almost certainly the Totem Core with another zombie Firefly, because I already made one already. It's Me Rev says it does. Totem Rock Platoon Commander, 45 Totem Core, 2 mechs, bases and assembly guides. It does not come with the Syringe Gauntlet Man. Bad Rabbit says it's not difficult to backward engineer, just figure out the cost of a unit and the cost of an officer. Yeah, okay. What the Bolt Action and Conflict 47 are very, like, the points is very formulaic. I know someone came up with essentially the vehicle design rules for Conflict, for Bolt Action, so that you can work out the points of any tank ever. With the book starter army and Albrecht. I apologize, Rev. I now understand what you mean. Okay, so further down the list is an even more expensive option, which has the Totem Core starter army, as we've discussed, and Syringe Spider-Man, and the book with Roberta Wells going in. And that is £145. So this is 110, so that's £35 more. This book is 30, so he's a fiver. He's normally 15, so you're getting a tenner off. Does it also come with the print? This doesn't come with the art print. I'm not actually sure if anyone's interested in the art print. I don't think I am. This is not for me, but thank you, Rev, for pointing it out that this is something I should discuss, because, well, just because I should. I'm hardly a journalist or anything. Yeah. Bad Rabbit says, where is this vehicle points list? I don't have it. It is around. If you look on the Bolt Action Reddit, search for it, or if you can't find it, post a question and ask about it. Someone will point you in the right direction. Bad Rabbit says it will come with the art print because you're getting the book. The book is in the bundle, therefore the art print is in the bundle. That makes sense. That is usually how Warlord games do things. And it comes to bundles. Yes. This is good. This is a really good deal, actually. All of this stuff. You get Spider Syringe Man, loads of zombies, you get these 2 mechs, and the book, and Roberta Wells. 445. That's pretty cool. I don't want it. It's not for me. But for if this is up your street, this is definitely a good deal. I kind of want half of it, but I want the cool half, and then no one's going to go halves with me on the other half, because I'd get this and then give someone half the or more than half the zombies. I'd probably keep 15 and give someone 30 zombies, and then the 2 mechs, and maybe the art print as well. I could be convinced with that, and the officer, because I'm not interested in that. And I don't think anyone would go for that, because they want this. Everyone's going to want this. This is the cool model. Let's go and have a look at this guy again. Spider punch dagger syringe thing guy with spider leg, robot spider legs. This is a cool model. That's a really cool model. I do kind of want it now. I'm gonna stop looking at this model. I'm gonna stop looking at the model, get it off my screen so that I don't have to look at it, because the more I look at it, the more I want it. Right. Let's wrap up the stream. So I'll give everyone a couple of moments just to post any last comments or questions. Thank you for pointing out those bits that I missed. If there anything else that I missed, get them in quick. And then we'll wrap up the stream for the moment. Just checking on the Techno Necromancer. Yeah. Nice, nice. Oh, we should have a look at that. That's not going to fit on what it's not going to fit on my screen properly, is it? Oh, no, that's not too bad. Close enough. Tell you what, we can move me off of the screen. There we go. So that's the full starter army. Yeah, so we've got the officer at the front, loads of zombies, and the 2 mechs. That's cool. That just is cool. People are going to enjoy this when it comes out. Gone for 47 is fun. Right. Let's finish the stream there. Thank you, everybody, for popping past. Thank you to Tiki, Bad Rabbit, It's Me Rev, Grim Tim Tim. Let's see who else. There's definitely some other people. Ratman was here. Thank you for looking after the stream. Limited Time AK. Woodimp. Oh, thank you to Woodimp for the spoilers. And ED-SKaR. Eternal Rhombus. And others, I'm sure. So, thank you very much to everyone who joined the stream. This has actually been kind of interesting to look at these new models. I usually don't do new stuff, but I can be convinced to do them on stream, because it might be easier to do them as a stream than as a video. What I do have to do is get tomorrow's video ready, because I already missed last week's and I don't want to miss 2 weeks in a row. So I'll have a video out tomorrow, and then at some point soon I will have a video on my Ashigaru. We've mentioned them a few times today. This is an interesting concept, and I thought I was being smart about it, but loads of other people have come up with it as well, as using the Warlord Games Ashigaru as Japanese infantry for conflict. Otherwise, yeah, let's wrap up the stream there. So, yeah, I'm ED-SKaR, always will be. Thank you very much for watching.